Hi, thanks for joining me. Today for our project, we have a field of flowers, and these look like lazy Susans or black-eyed Susans or sunflowers, either way. We're going to use this as our reference, and we're going to get started. We'll cover what's in your kit. You have 2 paint brushes. You have a tray that we're going to use as a palette for your paints. You have, of course, a canvas with a picture already on it. That'll make it a bit easier for you. We have, of course, your paints here, red, yellow, green, blue, and a white. That's a cerulean blue that we're going to use for the sky. You have a piece of plastic in here. And this piece of plastic is to cover your work surface. We also have this popsicle stick that we'll use. You use this to scoop the paints out of here and place them on your tray. And of course, you have some napkins. That'll be used to, of course, dry off your paint brushes. What is not in the kit is some water. And you will need a little water, not much. So I have a collapsible cup here. See, there's not very much water in there. It's going to be just enough to do what we needed to do and not enough to spill all over the place. So we'll get started by placing, of course, our paints on our palette. All right, so I want you to lay your paints out on your palette in this manner. We have our yellow, red, green, blue, and our white. And we'll work from there. We will also need the piece of plastic that you have. You just want to crumble it up, gently crumble it up. And you're going to use the primary colors only. We're going to create a little magic so that you don't have to work so hard, of course. What we're going to do is with the crumble up plastic, dip it in the water and get just a small amount of yellow. Dip it in the water again and straight to the canvas. You may need to add more water. I need you to make sure you go to the edges so that runs right off the edge. Don't be afraid of your edges. Just like that. I didn't need to dip it back into the paint. That works just like it is. And that is going to, we're going to just make a little mess. Not much, just a little. I'm just going to use this on my paper towel instead of my hand so that I can crumble it up again. Now I'm going to come back and get just a touch of the red. See, we really don't need much paint on that paper, on that plastic. And I'm going to dip that into the water. It's already wet. The plastic is already wet. So I dipped it the first time. I don't need to dip it the second time. It's just when I put the paint on it, now I'll dip it. And see, lightly dipping it. And then it'll smush out here and there. It's going to make whatever marks it's going to make. Don't worry about going over anything. You'll still see, you can still see all your line markings. I need a little more paint. I just come up here and tap an area that has a high concentration of paint and bring it down here. We're going to share the paint. So I only need to dip just a small amount in the paint to get me started. There, all to the edge, all to the edge. So I put the red on, then I put the yellow on, and I'm going to use this plastic again, just to make sure I got it crumpled up without getting all that on my hands. And I'm going to come over and take just a small touch of blue. Dip it into the water and to the paper, to the canvas, excuse me, straight to the canvas. And once you put it on the canvas, you can smush it, smush the plastic in, and it'll give you those wide markings. See, I just did it really lightly here, but once you get it on there in a couple of places, just smush it here and there. It needs to be everywhere also. All to the edge. Share the colors. Allow the canvas to have its time eating. That's a lot of paint. It looks like a ton of paint. So we're done with the plastic and we can now toss this. If you like, you can do your edges, the side edges here, if you like. You can just get some paint off of there and put it on the side. I don't worry much with them, but you can if you like to address those. Just take some paint straight from that canvas and put it on the sides. We're going to paint right over these. And it's going to give us the interesting effects that you saw on that sample. That's it. I don't need that plastic anymore. I can trash that plastic and clean my hands. What we do want is for this to dry. So set it aside, take you a break, and you can let that dry, and then we can come back. Or if you have a blow dryer, you can lightly blow dry it so that it dries. Or you can take a paper towel and just lightly lay it on top, and it will absorb some of that water. See there? And move it and lay it on top, and it will absorb some more water. Which will be just fine. We want the color on there, but not too much. Just lightly pat it. It's going to remove some paint along with the water, but that will be okay. That's all you need. And now we'll let this dry. All right, that is dry. We're going to use the large brush. We're going to start with the furthest distance, the thing that's the furthest distance away from us, which will be our background. Wet your brush, dip it in the blue paint, and bring some of the blue paint to the center and give it some white, not much. Come right up to the top, side to side. Going side to side with that. And you can come down. Some people are really particular. Just hit that. You're going to come all the way down to this line. There's a line down there. But we're going to paint in between the petals. And it's okay if you get a little of the blue paint over on the petals. I'm going to pull that down a bit so you can see it. Hopefully, I want you to get a full picture of it. So we go between the petals using the large brush. And it doesn't have to be solid that I'm painting, because we're not painting walls. If you notice, it's some little mishaps up in there where I'm not really covering a lot. You need to get a little bit more paint off of here. Paint in between where the petals are. And then side to side. See that? Just brush it right on out to the side. And the reason you're painting with a large brush is so that you can make a mistake and paint into the petals. You want to be able to see the sky background through the petals. Give it enough paint. So it may be easier to come down around the petals, going hitting the edge of the petals. It's okay to go over into the petal and then paint outward. That's the easiest way. Do it on the other side. And now I like to add just a touch of red on one corner, not much. I'll wipe some of that off, and a touch of white. And as I come down, more white. I separated them because I don't want pink. But on this blue, it'll give me some lavenders here and there. And then down here, more white. And again, if you want to paint, I don't want you to see the red in the sky. I don't want it to look like fire. So I'll blend it in a little with the light touch on the brush. If you want, you can paint the sides of these with the same color paint. And the top too. You can do the top also. All right, and now we're going to address the ground. The flowers are closer to us, so we're going to address the ground now. And we have some green. We don't clean the brush. Keep the brush like it is. We'll come in and just tap onto the green, and we'll come back in here. And this, more or less, we like to go sometimes up and down when we're here. We're going to leave this to dry some. We just want to block in that paint for the ground. Now we can wipe off that paintbrush. We painted all the green down there, except that stem right there. We'll wipe the paint off and then just wash that brush off in the water, smushing it down in the water to wash it off. Squeeze the water out and then set it aside. We're going to get that small paintbrush and you're going to mix some red. Just put it right there on your palette, right there, some red and some green. Scoop some green and mix it right here on the side. You don't want to mix all the red in. You want a rich, dark green. And that's what you're going to use to come in here and paint your petals, your stem. It's a little wet, so we'll come back to it. I just want to put that in here. We'll go back in. We have the red and the green over here, and it's going to give us a dark brown color. Paint the middle of the Susans or your daisies, whichever one you want them to be. We're going to paint the flower. We need these petals to be yellow. So now you just go in and lay in the yellow paint. We can even come in with just a little white here and there. When we put the white, it's on the parts that bend upward. There's like an elbow bending upward there. They just follow the shape of the petal. If you do this while it's wet, it'll blend some for you and you don't have to fuss over it. It gives you those fantastic results. I'm going to just wipe this yellow off my paintbrush, and I'm going to pick up just a touch of red. And I want to paint what's underneath. So where the petals tend to turn and you see underneath the petal in here, I just want a little red in there. Not the whole thing, I'm just tapping it, tapping the paint, the red paint in, because the red paint is really strong and I don't want a lot of it. I want just enough so that you can see the petal is doing something. Just enough. And then you can come and add a little here and there if you like. Giving it just enough to vary. And that brush is dirty. It's still got a lot of yellow and white on it. Now, I really put most of it on here. I don't do too much to these, but you can come here and add a little here. Just whatever's left on the brush, you can just tap it here and there. Not adding much to it because these are smaller and I don't want them to get a lot of attention. All right, now I'm going to rinse that brush off and go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll come back. All right, here we are back again. Mine is for the most part dry. I'm going to add some more paints, and here's where we're going to add the details. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some green and a little red, not much. And I'm going to hold the brush straight up and down so that this chisel point is standing on top of the canvas. And I'm going to stroke from the top to the bottom of the canvas. Well, not top to the bottom. I'm going to pretend I'm putting grass here. So I'm going up. See that? I'm making little grass. Not a lot, just here and there, just little short strokes. And if you have to, you can just place it on there like that, and it'll give you some little short strokes. That way it breaks up that line towards the back. And then for the rest of it, you just stroke in here. See that? Little grass strokes here and there. You do it with the chisel, that chiseled edge. You need a little of that red on there. Make little short strokes, not too long, break them up, little short strokes. Just here and there. It gives the indication of grass. And now I can come and put a little yellow on it too. Back here and there. For the bends in the leaf, this is the leaf, I'm going to put yellow there. Follow the shape. Follow the shape of the petal. All right, and then we can add a little bit more green here and there where we have yellow. We'll cover up some of the yellow, not too much, because that yellow in here can appear to be sunflowers here and there, or lazy Susans. And if you want it to look like there's a lot more in the back, use the handle, the point of the handle, and dip it in your yellow paint and just touch it lightly here and there. Just lightly, not a lot, because these are in the distance. You can't really see them well, but you can see the little sparks of yellow. So we put that blue paint on there. Make sure we got a good amount of blue paint on there, and rinse that brush off and set it aside. Now my paper towel is dirty, but it's going to be okay. I'm going to take a little touch of white, not much. And I'm going to place it right here where the blue is. So I have that blue over there. right there where the blue is. And then I'm going to just kind of smush it, not much, just a little bit. It'll look like it's a little, a few clouds. So just lightly put it in there. Is we are going to take a little red, just a touch, put some red on one side of that brush and some yellow on the other side of that brush, and lightly tap in here. Just really lightly with the tip. One side I have red, the other side I have yellow. I'm not trying to mix them, it's pollen. We're just trying to make it look like there's still some pollen in there. I really don't want to address this one or this one. I want to just address that one. So wipe that brush, wash that brush off. Just enough, not much. And now you can go back in and add some more yellow. That's it. You want your flowers to pop. We want it to look like we gave more attention to the flower than anything else. And even though we can see these other colors on this, on the flowers, it's okay. They'll show through and create some interest. And that's what we wanted to do. Okay, so I'm hoping you enjoyed this. The only thing you want to do now is to let it dry completely. Once it dries completely, you can sign your name to it.